Hello, welcome. This is Force 13 Live. It's just ticked over to midnight. It's now Tuesday, June 20th on the Universal Clock. 1 hour later over here, 1 in the morning local time in the UK, which is where we're broadcasting from, or at least I am. I'm not alone, however. My name's Nathan Foy. I'm joined by the Skype team. In this hour, I'm joined by David in Australia and Cesar in Mexico. Yes, so diverse, aren't we? Hello, guys. How are you?
Hello, Nathan. Really good, thank you. Really hot here as
Hot?
well.
Yes, it was here too. Had a high of 87 here today. Well, some people will turn up their nose at that, but the average daytime temperature is 66 in June in this country. So it was
incredible.
Quite legitimately hot. And we're still at 65. And glorious weather, but that's not what we're looking at right now. We're looking at Trinidad and Tobago, which is about to receive a landfall. Quite when, that is pretty difficult to discern, but it looks like to me, Cesar, you said something like an hour ago, or maybe an hour and a half ago, that it would be in 2 to 3 hours. Which would mean that it's going to be an hour or maximum 2 now. Do you stick by that?
I think I'm going to be. I'm going to say that it will be less now. I think.
Bearing in mind
Bret...
that the satellite imagery is not the most up to date by nature. I think the latest image in that is. Let me just get that for you. 11:15, so that's 45 minutes old, the last image in this loop that you're looking at. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be this hour, don't you think?
I guess it will be around this hour, maybe in the final around 45 minutes. Around 45 minutes, it will make landfall.
Well, that's accurate. You're going to the minute now.
Landfall.
You're going to the minute.
I'm not sure. I mean, Bret is still accelerating. He's moving really fast, around 30 miles per hour. So
that's been the whole time. Have you got the advisory in front of you?
No, but let me go to find it. I will not take so long for that.
Well, I just figured that since you must be pretty attuned to the Spanish pronunciations, you could read out the warnings for us.
Yes, of course. Just let me take the advisories there. Okay, and here it is. Tropical storm Bret. There are tropical storm warning and tropical storm conditions expected within 36 hours in Venezuela, from Pedernales to Cumaná and Isla de Margarita, Grenada, and Trinidad and Tobago are the current tropical storm warnings. And tropical storm watches are from Bonaire, Aruba, and Curacao. I don't remember how it's pronounced.
I don't either, to be honest. People say it differently. But there you can see both of these systems with the tracks, and I'll read out the warnings for potential storm, whatever, 3L. It's stationary, they're saying, in the latest advisory, which just came out moments ago. Stationary, 350 miles south of the mouth of the Mississippi River, 415 miles south-southeast of Morgan City in Louisiana. And the warnings that are in effect right now are as follows. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Intracoastal City to the mouth of the Pearl River. A tropical storm watch is in effect for west of Intracoastal City to High Island in Texas. And of course, as we always reiterate, a tropical storm warning means that tropical storm conditions are expected somewhere within the warning area. In this case, in the next 24 to 36 hours. And a tropical storm watch means that tropical storm conditions are possible within the next 48 hours. And the National Hurricane Center says interest elsewhere along the US Gulf Coast, from the central Texas coast to the western Florida panhandle, should monitor the progress of this system. Of course, maximum sustained winds in that one are 40 miles per hour, and they say it's got an 80% chance of formation into a tropical cyclone. And this is where a lot of confusion arises, because by numbering it 3L, a lot of people, and issuing advisories, a lot of people think that it's already a tropical cyclone. Well, newsflash for you, it isn't yet. It still isn't, but it's getting. I think it's getting better, Cesar.
Yes, and the last frames, potential tropical cyclone 3 is getting better. Of course, still struggling with the dry air in the west side, but at this stage, I think we will see Tropical Storm Cindy by tomorrow or 2 days from now, as best as I can say. But well, right now stationary and will accelerate slowly as the next hours will came. And
what do you
I'm
think
pretty
about
sure
this proposition by some of the models that it's going to stall?
well, this is something difficult actually, because as I see, the cyclone is still really erratic. I mean, there are a lot of variations in which part will make landfall, and how fast and where it will move. And well, from my point of view, and as I see, I think it will make landfall between Louisiana and Alabama. So possibly we'll see a landfall from
Really?
Louisiana and Mississippi. Yeah,
You're
but
still
I'm not.
thinking along those lines, and that's what sort of we were thinking earlier today.
Yes, but well, this is just I'm thinking about it, but I'm of course I have to analyze it well.
I mean, let's be
And
honest, that cone that the National Hurricane Center have put out is pretty narrow, given this system hasn't formed yet. I think personally it ought to
yes,
be much wider.
yeah, the cone is really tight. I mean, they are being too specific in which part they will make landfall, but I that
Well,
system is really
after all, they're predicting the
yeah.
storm to make landfall in the watch zone rather than the warning zone, but I guess that's just a bit nitpicking because it is more than 48 hours out that the landfall is expected. But
That's really strange, actually.
we certainly can't say where this thing's going to
but
make landfall.
but well,
Louisiana has the highest chance.
but the highest chance is will make landfall in Louisiana. But if you check well, I think they said the tropical storm warnings from the places of all the storm conditions that are in or well, all the clouds that are part of the storm. I mean, all the storm activity are in the east side of the storm, and the circulation and in the west of it has nothing. So maybe they are paying too much attention on the east side, and maybe that's why they are saying the
No,
southeastern
I think
side.
it's more simple than that, to be honest. I think it's just because it's
Well,
still
I don't.
over 48. It's still over 36 hours out for tropical storm conditions for that watch zone. So they're just putting out the watch at the moment. Probably going to be upgraded to warning sometime tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. And well, the we cannot predict how the storm will look like in the next day, in the next 36 hours. So
what did you think about this subtropical thing that we've been looking at in the model runs?
it is really interesting how they are predicting a possible subtropical storm formation. I don't discard it, but I don't think it will be possible. Um, as I see from the frame on the frames of that potential tropical cyclone, looks like to me that it will be consolidated and will have tropical characteristics. So, I mean, I don't discard the possibilities, but they are minimal for me.
David, have you anything to report over there?
Just following on to what Cesar said, I'm going to pose this question and also for the viewers. Are we going to see
we like
a couple
questions,
more...
by the way. If you send us in a question, if you want to.
Yes. Are we going to see a couple more systems before the end of this month?
What, in the Atlantic?
In the Atlantic?
I doubt
coming
it.
from the African.
Well, there's only 10 days left, so I really doubt that. Given how long it's taken these storms to develop from conception, we've been tracking. I think Force 13's storm early warning system has been issuing advisories on Bret since the 16th, I think it was, when they first started, and it's been trackable since the 13th of June. So it's taken 7 days to get to this point. And 93L's been on the cards for quite a while as well. I really don't think we'll see anything more this month in the Atlantic, but early July is a possibility, and all points beyond as well. Let's take a look again at the latest satellite imagery of Bret, which is what you're seeing in the colours now. Now this is the infrared satellite imagery, latest, as the system approaches Trinidad and Tobago. Well, it's not really approaching anymore, it's there, it's passing over Trinidad and Tobago now, and you can just about see Grenada off towards the top there too. It's going to get in on some of that. Doesn't look like it's going to get tropical storm force winds, but rainfall could be substantial there, and definitely substantial on Trinidad and Tobago, where tropical storm force winds are now probably occurring, particularly in northern Trinidad and potentially in Tobago. And then next up is that northern tip of Venezuela as well, and then it's going to continue towards the west, where we could see some tropical storm conditions as far as the ABC Islands, if it holds together. I'm not sure it will. It hold together. By this time tomorrow, it could be all gone and in the past. But looking at it, I think it's got a bit more about it than that. I think it will survive a little bit longer, but as a tropical storm, I think it's got less than 24 hours to go.
So we're saying that Bret is now on the way out.
Well, it will be after it passes Trinidad and Tobago in a few hours.
And what are we saying about CO3?
Its future's still ahead of it, and it's, as we've been saying, very curious. Whichever way you look at it, it looks like the Gulf Coast of the US is going to be in for quite a lot of rainfall that it probably doesn't need. 10 inches, the National Hurricane Center is saying. 16 inches, some models are saying. Really significant amounts. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, into Florida and Georgia as well. Could be a significant flood issue. Flood watches are in effect. In fact, I just want to, they may not necessarily be directly related to the storm, but I just want to read out all of the flash flood warnings that are in effect right now. There are quite a few in Mississippi, at least 4, and I just want to get them to you just in case you were concerned. Flash flood warnings are in effect right now in Jones County in southeastern Mississippi till 9:45 Central Time. A flash flood warning remains in effect until 7:30 Central Time for southern Madison County. At 6:33, emergency management reported flash flooding earlier in Gluckstadt area near Yandell Road, where there were some areas with standing water near Church and Yandell Road near Highway 51. That doesn't bode well. Public reported water was also covering the road earlier at the intersection of Bozeman Road and Reunion Parkway. So there were some storms earlier, and up to 3 inches of rain fell there. And another flash flood warning till 9:30 in central Clark County in east central Mississippi. Flash flooding is expected to begin shortly there, so be advised in that area. At 5:56, Doppler radar indicated thunderstorms produced heavy rain across the warned area of Lauderdale County, where there's a flash flood warning till 7:45. 2 or 3 inches of rain fell in an hour there. So 4 flash flood warnings over in Mississippi right now. And I believe there's one further east as well. I think it's in Georgia. Let me try and get that. I'll just be a minute. Right on the border with Alabama, there was a flash flood warning. Let me just get this here. It's the last one I'll be reporting on for now. western Carroll County in northwestern Georgia has a flash flood warning, and I'm just reading all of these out. It's not really to do with the storm, it's to do with some thunderstorms that have been occurring over the area, but you can't say that it bodes well for what's still yet to come with this large-scale event, and lots of precipitation occurring over quite a long amount of time, and lots of flash flood watches along the coastal regions of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and into Florida, as David said earlier. What was it? Where were the locations? From New Orleans to Tallahassee, was it? Further west of New Orleans as well, actually.
And I think it will, as the system tracks closer, we can expect the warning area to expand northwards, or let's say inland.
Yes, indeed. So there we are, and heavy rain bands still spreading across Trinidad and Tobago. It's the first time they've seen tropical storm activity. Well, I'm not sure when the last time they saw tropical storm activity, because some storms have passed pretty close, but it's the most recent landfall since... Was it
Bret
Bret
in 1993?
The other Bret.
Yes.
Could you have scripted that at all? Bret of 1993 was the last tropical storm to make landfall in Trinidad. Yep.
Nathan, I would like to ask you a question following on. Could we see further systems this month? Your response was the first, going into July. What would the next two systems names be?
Oh, well, that's pretty simple. It's Don and Emily after Cindy. Don, of course, replacing Dennis back in 2005. Was it Dennis?
Yes, it was Dennis.
Don replacing Dennis, and it was a real poor storm back in 2011 when it dissipated just as soon as it struck Texas as a tropical storm. Rather pathetic. It's coming up again. And Emily, which is quite a controversial one, actually, when you talk about 2005. Because it's probably one of the strongest storms to have made landfall that didn't get retired. Don't you think, Cesar? I can't think of any others right now.
Yes, I agree with that, actually.
And a lot of people have arguments about whether it was a Category 5 or not. A lot of people in the project say no. I personally say yes. What do you think?
I don't know, actually. I haven't analyzed Emily. I have my doubts if it was a Cat 5 or not. I should analyze soon. But, Emily actually looked really good, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I can't say.
But yeah, we invite questions. There's only 3 of us here in this hour, so things are a little bit slower. Obviously, if there's any news that comes in, we'll have it. But if you do have questions for us, do send them in, and we're just, providing the information, everything that we've got here. We don't have eyes on the ground, of course, in Trinidad, apart from you, of course, the viewer. You are our eyes and ears whilst we're on the air here, so anything that you can tell us that's going on in your neighbourhood is really appreciated. And of course in the US when it comes to it as well, because it looks as though what will be Cindy in the future is going to affect at least one of these states, and probably more than one, but it can only landfall in one, of course. But I think the landfall in both of these instances actually is probably going to be pretty irrelevant, because it's fairly weak. Both systems are going to be fairly weak, and the influence around them, conditions can be worse or as bad some miles from the centre. Not so much in the case of Bret, but in the case of 93L, it could be that the worst conditions are felt hundreds of miles away from the landfall zone in those high precipitation zones.
That's right, and this system is really, really big, and this could be a problem because as Hank said in before, the rain is a problem, the flooding is a problem. It causes a lot of destruction, and unfortunately can also um, cost several lives. Hope I that will doesn't
Yes.
sorry. Well, that don't
Forget the
happen.
gist.
Yes.
Of course.
And the people should be always prepared for all these cases, because no one can know how how will last and how strong it will be, and well, just have to wait to the effects.
Just to go
Yeah.
off on a tangent a little with you here, Cesar, whilst you're here with us. We were talking before the start of the Atlantic hurricane season about how Mexico, on both sides of the continent, Atlantic and Pacific side, could be in for a bad year. Are you worried about that?
Well, I'm kind of worried about it, because Mexico, uh, about warning people to take care about these tropical cyclones or storms, are not the best. I mean, just put an example with Hurricane Manuel and
Ah,
Ingrid in 2013. Both storms made landfall in a span of 18 hours, and both were really weak storms, and it caused
well,
together
both
at least
Category 1
six.
hurricanes.
Well, Category 1 hurricane and tropical storm, and it is really weak for some storms that we have in the past as well, and didn't cause so much damage. I think there was something bad there, because Ingrid cost 1.5 billion USD in damages, and Manuel 4 billion. And with those two storms together killed at least 170 people, or maybe 200.
Just
And
200.
yes, I mean, it's not 200 people is like not that much, but
Okay.
mm,
I just want to let's bring us back to what's going on right now. Well, first of all, someone's asking us. We did discuss this more than once, but we'll ask Cesar and David about their takes on this. The chances of 93L, the big one, turning towards Florida, rather low.
I discard this.
You
I don't
discard it
think it will.
totally?
Yes, I don't think it will make landfall in Florida.
Now, potential, sorry guys, and the viewers, but with me over here in Australia, I'm on a learning curve when it comes to the Northern
Well,
Hemisphere.
you'll find that a lot of people are when they come here.
True.
It's fine.
Potential, Nathan, the system in the Gulf of Mexico, that's the PTC 3.
Yes. Takes
Right,
getting
now
used to,
I
doesn't
want
it?
to. The system, now, just want to paint this scenario. It's just something that I've cited. The system should move north, then north-northwest, crossing the coast west of Louisiana sometime late Wednesday. Then we factor in the wind shear. Is the warning area further east than what it should be?
No, we sort of covered that really. It's just because if we bring us back to the graphic on the left hand side there, the warning zones and the forecast track of 93L, the watch zone is a watch zone, assumedly, just because it's slightly outside of the 36 or 24 hour zone for tropical storm force winds. Don't forget, warnings are usually issued when tropical storm force winds are expected within 24 hours. And so the yellow zone, the watch area there, is just outside of that area. Indeed, by the 48-hour period, it's still not made landfall, but tropical storm conditions could be possible by then. So I think it's very legitimate to say that. It does look a bit odd on the face of it, but it's actually normal and how it should be at the moment.
And Louisiana's expecting or could see rainfall 8 inches.
Yeah, well, Louisiana being a rather broad area in the context of this storm, yes, isolated areas up to 10 inches is what the National Hurricane Center is saying, but yeah, I think that could be 6 to 8 inches could be commonplace in eastern parts of the state and western parts of the state if the storm gets its act together on the northern side.
And here's one for the viewers. With the hurricane season now underway, have you or do you know of anyone that has had a pre-hurricane party?
Sorry? Hurricane
Has
parties?
anyone? Yeah, pre-hurricane parties.
Well, it was publicised, wasn't it, with Hurricane Camille of 1969, I think, when apparently there was a hurricane party that went on and it didn't end very well for them. Because Camille was obviously the huge storm that it was, extremely powerful at landfall, the Katrina of its day, and apparently there was a hurricane party. I don't know how much of it, you know, you get all these tales that go on, don't you, and things get publicised when they may not actually be either entirely or true at all. Who knows? I couldn't speak for that so much. There's a comment actually. What type of season do you think the west coast of Florida will see this year? I don't suppose Cesar might want to answer that.
The west coast of Florida? It is an interesting question, but I
don't think
we,
chances are higher than normal.
Yes, I possibly we will see a storm there, but not intense. Maybe just like a storm like Kermit or a tropical storm, but not far in that.
Interesting.
Yes, but well, I can know that. I mean, I can't predict that really, but as I see, maybe a tropical storm we will see, or a Cat 1.
Now, Cesar, are you able to see the stream from here in the satellite picture?
Yes,
There's been
I can see the stream.
Convective blow-up recently just southeast of Trinidad. Are you seeing that?
Exactly, that's right. Top cloud, sorry.
I just want to bring in something else as well. I should have done this sooner, but it's only just occurred to me. This is radar imagery from Trinidad as well, and you can see the source of that blow up there is also denoted by some heavy rainfall into the southeast there, and that's going to come ashore pretty soon.
Possibly in the next 15 to 30 minutes that blow will be right over Trinidad and Tobago, and you can see the cloud tops are really cold, around 70, 80, minus 70, minus 80 Celsius. And maybe this could make this is the worst part of the storm, even that it just forming unexpectedly. The circulation is right now over Trinidad, but that blow maybe can make the difference of the next consequences.
Significant rainfall in that. So that's going to be heading that way very soon. You can see rainfall to the north there as well. Looks like it's about to wash over Grenada pretty soon. Grenada will start to see, I think it's starting to see a little bit of rainfall there already, but it's going to get heavier there too. But I've got to say, we still struggle to actually see a defined circulation in all that.
Yeah, actually, well, it I can see some circulation, but not
You can see
that close.
rotation, can't you? Maybe it's just the quality of the radar isn't good enough, but if there's a circulation there, I think it possibly might be the bit just ahead of that new flare-up in convection, and perhaps it's just about to make landfall here.
It could be possibly as well. Maybe it's like a double rotation. I don't know. No, it can't be. But well, you can see some rotation there, but as you said, just right now, it doesn't look that defined or that close circulation. Maybe for the land interaction, maybe because he's now entering a moist area. Well, Bret is a really weird storm and kind of unexpected as well. But well, I hope there's no much damages and victims there after the show.
Yeah, of course. Speaking of which, I'm not sure when we're going to finish here. We can't stay on the air forever, unfortunately, but I'm not sure how long we'll be remaining. We'll be here at least for another half hour and possibly longer. We'll have to wait and see. Just to tell you, more severe thunderstorm warnings are occurring right now in Virginia, just south of Richmond actually, and onto the Delmarva Peninsula. Ocean City, not quite Salisbury actually, has a severe thunderstorm warning, and there's a flash flood warning up there as well, which I might want to tell you about. Southeastern Sussex County, thunderstorms are producing heavy rain and flash flooding is possible there. So a lot of flash flooding warnings in many parts of the US this evening. The thunderstorms have moved away now from New Jersey and from Long Island, and they're still occurring further to the northeast as far as I know. Let me just check. I think they're not actually anymore. Oh, Cesar there with a dog in the background. Two flash flood warnings in Maine until 10:45 p.m. for north central Aroostook County. 4.8 inches of rain has been observed in Cross Lake, and the water is flowing over Route 161. Additional rainfall of 1 to 2 inches can be expected across the warned area. And a flash flood warning for southwestern Piscataqui County in north central Maine till 10:15. More rain is possible there as well, and as they always say, turn around, don't drown.
Wow.
So plenty of flash flood warnings there. I think David wanted to come in just now.
National Weather Service, Antonio. I don't know, picking up on what is it? CO3, and it becomes Cindy. Tropical storm Cindy.
Yeah, it's possible. Still not. Well, it's likely. It's just not official that it's Cindy yet. What exactly? What is their wording exactly?
Here's the latest information on the tropical disturbance in the Gulf, and it's expected to become Tropical Storm Cindy. Not much expected for SC Texas, South Central Texas. Isolated shower storms will be possible along the coastal plains beginning Thursday. Otherwise, hot and dry. Absolutely.
And it would be over there as well, because the western side of the storm is still very dry. You know, the periphery there, and dry air will be coming in with the storm if it stays as it is. But if it manages to get all that weather around it and become a bona fide tropical storm, or even a subtropical storm, as some models are suggesting, then depending on where it makes landfall, other parts of Texas may see some rain out of that too, particularly if the models continue to shift west. As you can see in that latest frame is that new blow-up that's just occurred right next to Trinidad as Bret continues to advance towards the island, and it looks to me as though on the radar and on the satellite that landfall is imminent or already occurring. There's the latest radar. I'm not too sure if this one updates automatically. The satellite does. This one is 30 minutes old. I'll try and get it updated, but you'll have to bear with me as you might see some disruption on the page, but the last I've got there is from 4 minutes past midnight. I'm guessing that's universal time, and now we're 35 minutes past midnight, so a little bit out of date there. I can actually see some other loops from 19 minutes past. Now I'll try and bring that to you. There is 19 minutes past right now, so that was from just over 15 minutes ago, showing that area just to the southeast of Trinidad, which you have to say is the worst part of the storm right now, the single most worst part of the storm at this present moment, moving ever closer towards the island. And Cesar, Craig's gone.
Oh.
Cesar, you're looking at that. Would you say that is the center just northwest of that blow up and making landfall as we speak?
Now
Let's try and get that animated.
Yeah, but as that question now is really difficult. Now this is a challenge because
here we go. We've got the animation. Actually, that makes it more difficult. I see what you mean when you earlier said that there could be sort of two rotations. The center might actually be southeast of that, the way it's rotating like. You see that?
Yes, I saw it as well.
So that might well be the center of the storm, and that is still moving towards Trinidad. It might be the southern half of the island that sees the landfall now.
That's
and it's going to happen very soon.
And yes, possibly in less than an hour.
I think that's it. I think that's got to be it, hasn't it?
Let me see. This is really incredible. I mean, the edge of that blob is practically in landfall. So maybe the entire blob, and that is still growing, sadly. And it will be right on the island in less than 30 minutes or even 15 minutes.
Let me just let me just tell you how long that loop goes on for. It started at 10:34 and finishes at 90 minutes past midnight. So this loop is nearly 2 hours long. So I think it'll be longer than that. Looks to me as though an hour and a half perhaps.
It's really interesting because it's moving 25 miles per hour northwest or west-northwest.
Something like that. But if the center is where we think it is, that's still something like... trying to figure this out here. That's something like 55 kilometers away. So that's about 35 miles. So an hour and a half sounds fair when you think of it that way.
Exactly. So there's
David,
still some
David,
time.
are you able to see this? What are your thoughts?
I was just trying to find a link to the radar, but I'll go with your comments.
It looks to be the logical solution there. I think that is the centre of the
West,
storm.
northwest?
Yes, let's see if we've got any satellite indications of that being... I think it is, Cesar.
That blob, do you think it is the center?
I think it is.
Well, we have to see more frames in the future because this is really interesting.
I think that blob has occurred pretty much right over the centre. We're now joined by John, I believe.
Yes. John, welcome. We missed you.
Yeah, I know. I was busy, so I couldn't get here.
Well, that's fine. We're live, John, talking about Bret and the Gulf of Mexico system. Which one do you want to start with?
Oh, yeah, the storm, which was, I believe, a tropical storm a while before this, that the IHC finally said, let's name this
what
thing.
a few people are saying.
Yeah, I know. I think I thought this was a storm since 11 o'clock last night. So, but unfortunately, the NHC's now made it a storm, so I'm no longer angry. So that's good because I was looking at it and like this looks like a textbook tropical storm that is a bit compact. And now it's looking better, in my opinion. It's looking better than it used to be. I'm guessing. I gotta take a little one more look at it again because I just got back.
Well,
So,
we've been talking about this little blow-up that's been going on right now, and landfall is quite imminent over Trinidad, and it looks to me, let's see if you agree on it, if you can see the stream from where you are, we're showing the imagery, latest from GOES 16 infrared, and
yay.
are you seeing that right now?
Yeah, it's getting closer.
Well, you
it
can
appears.
see that blow up that's been going on in those latest frames, and now I'm going to show you the radar and the viewers, which corresponds to that. And don't you think that is where the center is?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That probably looks like where the center would be on the system. And wow.
So we're looking at a
Yeah.
landfall in around an hour and a half based on that.
Yeah, I would say it's a hair stronger than than what the NHC has it at
Oh, you
right
think
now.
so?
I think it's 45, in my
Yeah,
opinion,
that's quite
at the
possible.
minimum.
If anyone has weather equipment and they're in Trinidad and Tobago, do let us know if you get any stronger winds than the 40 miles per hour. Well, do you want to talk about 93L and this pre-storm 3L numbering potential blah 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 thing?
This is just different from what I'm used to during my experience of tracking storms. I mean, this system is just different than what I'm used to, and I mean, it's what it is. I mean,
Well, here's
now
one
they're
for
calling.
you. Here's one for you. Some of the models are saying that it's going to develop into a subtropical storm.
I mean, yeah, considering what environment it's in a not very conductive environment right now. I mean, shear looks like it's impacting it in a huge way. I'm looking here. I'm seeing surface level winds on the visible imagery. You know what? I'll show you, screen share this. Give me a second. I'm looking at imagery on the NOAA floaters. So let me go ahead and screen share this right here.
Oh, okay.
I'll just move you right here. So I'm going to change to a color that comes up nice and clear, which to this color.
Oh, he's
'cause I
getting his
feel like
marker
it.
pens out as well.
You see at the surface, you have winds going like this, as a general swirl. That might be the upper levels. I'm not sure, but in general, and if you look here, you can see winds coming from this direction. And so that's a classic type of vertical wind shear, which has been occurring over the Gulf.
That appears to be higher level, correct?
Yeah, that is upper level clouds. Yes, you can see here it's typical vertical wind shear, and if you look here, there is a swirl, mid-level swirl associated with this. I'm not sure if there's a surface low. I don't think there is.
There's definitely some surface circulation going on there, but there's been two. If you look at, we were looking at the GOES 16 floaters not so long ago, and there were two centers, vortices, low-level vortices. In fact, even three.
Colin.
It's not a Colin. It's better than that. But it's certainly more well defined, and I think, John, when do you think? And I think it's going to be a when. When do you think this is going to get named?
I would say it's anywhere within the ballpark of 12 to 24 hours from this point.
Agree. I'd agree. National Hurricane Center thinks it's going to take 24 hours.
Yeah. If you look here, I marked the surface circulation spin in blue, and I marked the mid-level wind, the upper-level wind flow in a pink color here. You can see here the system is getting clearly sheared at the upper level, as there is shear contradictory to the spin of the system itself at the lower levels. So, yeah, it's definitely having a hard time. And I could probably pull up the if this would give me a second, I could possibly pull up the water vapor imagery on this. I believe that's O3L. Yep. That's Flash. I don't like using Flash. I like using using HTML5 because I can have it in multiple tabs. And I just don't like this style of water vapor imagery. It's not what I'm used to. It's just, I'm sorry. I'll save my criticisms for later. But
about the quality of the imagery.
Yeah, I'm used to more or less of the orange and green water vapor slider thing that there was in the older style
the old
imagery.
Ones,
but
I quite liked that.
You can see here there's an upper level spin here that's shearing the system from the southwest, and you can look here in the water vapor imagery. It's very dry. It looks like. So this system's not dealing with shear, it's also dealing with dry air as well, which is, let's be honest, not really conductive for development. I mean, this is typical for a June system in this position where it's going to do something like this and try to develop in the Gulf despite all the shear and dry air. It's not going to get very strong very quickly, which is a good thing. But wherever this goes, with all the thunderstorm activity associated with it, it's definitely going to drop a good amount of rain, in my honest opinion here.
I wanted to ask you about that. The National Hurricane Center is saying 10 inches in some isolated locations, some models saying up to 16. What are your thoughts?
Definitely. With all the thunder shower activity associated with this system and how large its convective bubble is, effectively, we could easily see high rainfall rates because thunderstorms usually drop a lot of rain. They are typical of, like I said, dropping a lot of rain. And it appears here that, it's going to drop a lot of rain wherever it goes. We still do not have a good idea where it's going to really go, to be honest. It could stall out off the coast in the Gulf of Mexico.
Some models were pointing that out as well, and I think it's going to be a bad time if it stalls just off Louisiana, right?
I think it's more or less due to some weak steering currents. I can get some graphics up for that in a minute. I just need a minute to get those graphics up, so could someone just talk for a minute while I get graphics?
Well, of course, we can just go straight back to the satellite and radar imagery that we've been looking at for the best part of this hour and see if we can discern anything new after that revelation from earlier, Cesar, when we sort of found out that, it looks like that's the center,
circulation.
The center of the storm appearing on Trinidad and Tobago radar. There it is again. This is the latest image as of 34 minutes past the hour. So this is 14 minutes old, and shortly it will play an animation. Here it is. And this is how the storm's been progressing with that latest flare-up that's occurred just to the southeast. And it looks to me now, though, as though rainfall is going to increase significantly in the southeastern part of the island.
That's right, and possibly the winds as well. So the people of Trinidad and Tobago will experience really bad weather in the next 10 minutes, or it could they're now,
if they aren't already,
really.
or
maybe they're already.
And a lot of people
really bad weather.
And a lot of people have said, and a lot of people are watching from there and have said things to that nature about the winds getting up and significant rainfall. 40 miles per hour sustained, and John, you think it should be more? What, 45?
45, yeah, at least. I think that little flare-up might have just kicked it over to 45, in my opinion.
Okay.
That little flare-up we just saw could have easily just added 5 miles an hour. But here's the situation I wanted to point out. Here is, I'll mark this map up, give me a second. Here is, that's the wrong color. Why are you doing this to me? These days, with all these cool gadgets, here is 93L, or as we like to call it, or as the NHC likes to call it, potential cyclone 3. Right here, you have a, I think there's a trough digging in up here. just by the Great Lakes. There are two high pressure ridges, one that's just nosing out of Texas here a bit, and one that's right off the eastern coast. And this kind of creates an area of very weak steering currents. So this thing has not a whole lot of options. If this high builds in a bit more, it's going to force this thing, the Force 93L, to go farther west and south of where it's going to go. It could just do a Texas landfall here.
You really think that's still a possibility of westward motion?
If this high builds in faster, but I think it's becoming less and less of a possibility now. And what we're going to see now is this storm try to squeeze itself in between this low pressure and ridge here, and possibly merge with this trough here and transition into an extratropical system. Or if this trough digs in a little bit more, it could just get yanked, which means it's not going to be staying long. Or here's the last possible scenario: this ridge could build in a bit more over Florida, which would cause this to just stall right here, which is possibly the worst case scenario.
And might possibly be most likely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that this probably the most likely scenario would be. I agree with you with this one. This trough here is going to possibly either retreat while this high pressure ridge digs in to Florida a bit, causing this to stall right near Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi, causing rainfall totals, of course, up to 10 to 16 inches, as reported by the National Hurricane Center.
When the National Hurricane Center put out the first forecasted cone, which it is still the first one that they've got out now, but they've not changed it since, it did agree pretty substantially with what the Force 13 graphics were saying in our early warning service.
Like that.
Well, it's a little bit further west than that, I think.
Yeah, probably because of this ridge building in a bit more.
And just to compare, I just want to bring up the cone for everyone as well. There it is on the left-hand side of your screen. Force 13's cone for Bret is on the right-hand side, incidentally. There you can see the center of the cone is. It looks as though it almost goes into Texas and then moves back towards the northeast.
You want me to see what the GFS thinks on what situation is going to come up with this? The GFS appears.
Okay, quickly.
The GFS appears to build this ridge in a bit more, so kind of causing this to just. And if you look here, the high pressure is going to possibly trap what comes of O3L.
Yeah, so it's going to get blocked for a day or two.
And it's going to just dissipate over over Louisiana, Arkansas. If you look here at the ECMWF, what it says, I'll initialize it to 0. The ECMWF still believes that this is going to edge out a bit more than the other high-pressure system, which is going to cause O3L to go a more westerly track. The ECMWF has been more adamant on that scenario. It's shown it in repeated runs. It's just more adamant in that scenario. And if you want fun, you can look at the CMC and see what the CMC thinks is going to happen.
The CMC.
The CMC.
It gets a bad rep in these circles, I gotta tell you.
It tries to strengthen this thing a little bit here.
Yeah, well, John, if you think that's bad, look at the nav gem.
Oh my god, I want to see this.
I think it was the nav gem, unless they've changed their tune. Let's see what they've got.
Nav gem makes it look bad. Let's see, nav gem completely, what is this? It's a weaker system, and yeah, I think
I'm sure it was the nav gem that had something in the 970s in millibars. It was one of them anyway. They're all the same to me. But there we go.
Yeah. It appears that that a lot of the models are following in the footsteps of the ECMWF. It appears a lot of models are saying this is going to track a bit more westward than anticipated. but the GFS is still hardlining it into Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi, which is what the NHC is appearing to stick with for their forecast cone and as well.
All right. Well, you can see what looks like the center of Bret, looking rather impressive with that latest convective burst. And it does appear to be, indeed, the center of the storm. And it is approaching landfall. And it looks to me almost a certainty that it is going to make landfall there in Trinidad very soon indeed, in the next 90 minutes or less. What are we looking at now?
I took my screen share off.
Is that
breaking news from Tobago? Due to the new weather system, a house in Patience Hill, Tobago, has collapsed with a elderly person inside and is now in hospital.
Okay, well, that's the first we've seen from this storm. Let's hope it doesn't get any worse.
Yeah. It's definitely a storm that has formed pretty far south than you see typically. And especially, you don't see storms of this position in June. This is more of a late July, August thing.
It can be. John and guys, we're taking a break here. This is Force 13 Live. We'll have more for you in another hour of coverage coming right up as we approach the 1 o'clock hour UTC. And for now, stay tuned. We'll have more for you in the hour, more discussion, more information, and the latest. And stay tuned with us and send in your comments and questions, and we will respond. And I think it's healthy for things for coverage like this to do so and make sure that the viewer is involved, because quite often they can have very important information for us and can lead us down routes that we never envisaged when we began the show. Well, that was apt, wasn't it? That is the radar, and that is the live picture out of Force 13 HQ. Yeah, there's nothing to see. It's the middle of the night. Back in a moment. Continues in a moment. You can follow Force 13's outlets, the website force13.co.uk, at your service at any time. You can also find us on YouTube, the channel, search Force 13, all in text, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find us on Facebook at Force 13, and it's at Force 13 on Twitter. That's the handle to contact us there. You can also add Fool13 on Skype, that's FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord for tropical weather chat.